In November of 2014, the County Board of Commissioners voted to create the Washtenaw ID Card. Beginning June 1st of 2015, the card will be issued by the Office of the County Clerk and will cost $25.
Yeah, my name is Clayton, and I am the Washtenaw County Sheriff. You know, when we make traffic stops or pedestrian contacts, one of the first things that a law enforcement officer wants to do is to identify who they're dealing with. And their inability to identify who they're dealing with sometimes causes them to take some extra steps. Sometimes it causes them to detain that person, take them to a local law enforcement facility, and try to ascertain who they are at the facility. So that takes the officer off the street. It burns unnecessary resources, and quite frankly, for someone that hasn't committed a crime, that hasn't done anything, it's not fair that you have to be detained and taken to a police station because you don't have that ID. Our ability to have identification at the county level that we have confidence in that is valid, that police officers have confidence in that is valid, that, well, I can identify who this person is, that person is not wanted or involved in anything that's suspicious, then we can let that person go on about their business, and then we can direct our attention to, again, more important issues. So I think for that reason alone, I think it's important.
The County ID will not only support the goals of public safety and fairness, but will improve public health outcomes as well.
So not having an ID comes about because of multiple processes that serve to marginalize or stigmatize residents of our community. And we call those processes in public health the fundamental determinants of health. So offering access to the Washtenaw County ID has the possibility of extending access to social and economic resources that are intricately linked with health to residents of our community.
County health really depends on access to county resources. The Washtenaw County ID is a means of getting access to resources for communities who otherwise have had difficulty getting that access. The Washtenaw County ID is a way of sharing the social space and community resources with folks who otherwise wouldn't have access to it.
I think there's an underserved population in Washtenaw County, an underground population in Washtenaw County that can't receive some of the services from law enforcement and other social services. And a lot of that has to do because they don't have identification and some other things. So I think people that have IDs, position them to get some of the other things that they need so they can come out into the light and receive better services.
My name is Valadez. I'm a community organizer in Washtenaw County. I work for the Washtenaw Interfaith Coalition for Immigrant Rights. There were young people who went to a movie showing and they were attacked by actual adults. That particular incident went unreported because the parents were afraid that, they went home, they told their parents, but the parents said, got angry with the youth for getting into a fight, but didn't report it and didn't report it to local public officials because they were afraid that they would be vulnerable or they couldn't really explain anything without being able to explain who they are. So this ID allows them to just participate in their community, to alleviate a lot of the fear of being pulled over because a lot of people, freeze up and can't respond. And then with the language barrier, it's also a problem. So an ID allows them to be able to prevent an unnecessary trauma for a family being divided or separated through processing fingerprints for a detainment or deportation.
People often ask, why would Washtenaw County create a secondary form of identification? My
simple response is because it makes sense. I mean, if you think about what we just talked about in terms of helping people meet some of their basic needs, the story I tell oftentimes is my grandparents, and when they moved up from Alabama with my parents and they didn't have ID, the trouble that my parents had trying to secure services for my grandparents because they didn't have ID, I mean, it really hit me personally. So when the group came to me about trying to facilitate county ID, I didn't just think about the immigration issue. I thought about the larger, broader issue of all people that don't have ID, the challenges that it poses, and if the sheriff's office and myself could be part of a process that helped eliminate a challenge for a lot of people in Washtenaw County, I felt honored to be a part of it.